Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and today we are going to be bringing you a review of One Piece film Red. It's me, Akainu Fanboy, and the other two are Geboss and our valued main contributor, Jimemperor. And so let's just say,
Spoilers.
spoilers up to, and I'm going to say up to One Piece chapter 1065 of the manga, just because I'm going to just make some connections. Recent manga chapters of this movie too, but I'd say overall for me, I enjoyed it. It was different. I hate musicals, but I liked this movie a lot, and I thought it was integrated very well, and I think it was something that was different, that was and unique, that was needed in One Piece too. It's something that hadn't really been tried before, in regard to like a lot of the musical numbers, but it really played out well, I'd say, with the fight dynamics in the story too. So, you know, I was I heard it was like more musical oriented and I dreaded it, but then I was like, you know what? They actually did a pretty good job with this.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I not that I hate it or anything, but I really like musicals, and that it scratched the right itch for me. And I think that this is my favorite One Piece movie. Given I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen like since Strong World, I've seen all of them. But yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't a huge One Piece movie watcher either. I just watched like a few recent ones that came out. I watched Stampede, Z, and Gold. I liked Gold, was probably my favorite. It was really good. Z was decent, and Stampede was also decent. And as far as the musical part goes, I don't hate musicals, but I don't even know if I'd call it a musical, because in musicals you're kind of like everybody's singing and like you like sing your lines. She was just singing while things happened in the background. It wasn't really like you like kind of broke the fourth wall with like singing the plot, I guess. So I wouldn't call it a musical. There was just a lot of music.
Yeah, well, she kind of was. If you look at the lyrics, she was kind of explaining what was going on.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, because I saw it in Japanese and in English.
Okay.
So, but it was interesting to see. Although, if you like go on YouTube and look at the videos, they have all the lyrics on there, and it's actually really spoilery. if you look at it.
Really?
Yeah. Like if you hadn't seen the movie, but you could kind of guess the plot a little bit.
Yeah, and I'd say the story was, I'd say like average to an extent. I'm not even saying it negatively. It's just, I don't think it was really focused on the story per se. It's more characterization of the red hair pirates, Uta, Luffy to a slight extent, but also a lot of different characters we hadn't seen in a bit or haven't been given as much limelight in the main series, you know? Kobe kind of comes out the mine, you know? Usopp, Yasopp was like one of the best parts of it, obviously, at the final fight. Especially since like Usopp's gotten no love in the manga for a while, you know?
Yeah, that Usopp Yasopp moment was fantastic. That was probably the best part of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I felt like it was more of a movie focused on characterization. I would say the characters who honestly could have like really not have been in the movie, but like there was kind of more cameos, whether it be like the admirals, Law, Katakuri, and I thought the Straw Hats were kind of repetitive in their roles, you know, just kind of not really saying much, doing the same attacks. But at the same time, like Robin had a cool moment with the history, Chopper did a couple cool things, Nami didn't really do much of anything, to be honest, and Jinbei had a couple cool attacks, and I felt like Zoro and Sanji were pretty repetitive with their attacks in the movie, you know.
Yeah. Well, what I think was a big missed opportunity was this was the musical movie, and Brooke didn't really do much.
I agree, big time.
Yeah, and I would say, okay, so on the musical numbers, I would say one thing that was a little repetitive was kind of the knights, if you will, the musical knights, because I kind of think he could have been a little bit more creative with adding in more different types of creatures and stuff, you know? so it kind of gets drawn out. They keep on killing those knights over and over and over again, you know. And you think with like the differing musical numbers, they could have shifted up the animated monsters and stuff. But I think I really liked. I think the song was Backlash, and that's when she turns on the Straw Hats initially.
Backlight, yeah.
Oh, Backlight. Sorry.
Yeah.
So whenever she did like the dark musical numbers, I thought those were the coolest musical numbers.
Yeah, I agree. The song when she first like fought all the Straw Hats and took them all out, that was definitely the best song.
I think that also had like the best animation from my perspective.
Yeah, it kind of amped up.
Yeah, and I like the one where she fought the Navy as well. It had a neat like swing rhythm to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like there was just a lot on the screen in terms of just effects and everything. I'm surprised they didn't like give like a warning to certain people, you know, like and see that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But especially like in IMAX where we saw, it's just like, man, this is heavy right now, you know. But, you know, it was still a cool experience. I would just say it was like pretty, you know, massive stuff. But overall, though, I thought like that animation was like pretty well utilized throughout the movie and everything. And I don't know, on the Navy topic, I kind of thought like they were just kind of there, with the exception of like Kobe. Like Kobe, like obviously was pretty hyped up heavily in this arc, which is really cool to see. I'm sorry, movie. And just like when he went on that stage and everybody started cheering and saying hero, you know, and all this stuff, it's like, okay, yeah, Oda's definitely moving in that direction, as we're starting to see in the manga with the whole Blackbeard Kobe dynamic too, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, he was also the one that was like making sure everyone was evacuated when Tot Musica was taking over. And like Nami specifically like told him to take charge, and he was giving orders to everyone, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're setting him up to be like the new Garp and stuff. And I get it, there's connections there, but I guess his personality is like a lot different in regard to Garp, you know? Mm-hmm. He's kind of like a moralist young guy who just is really enthusiastic, you know?
Yeah.
Garp is a little different than that, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I also wanted to point out that also relating to like cameo, they're basically glorified cameos. Also Khalifa did nothing. I was kind of disappointed in that. She was just kind of the lookout. But I was surprised that Bluno got as much screen time as he did.
Yeah, that was random and I don't know why they turned him into a little cute mascot like they did with everybody else.
I don't know.
Merch.
Very random.
Yeah.
There's gonna be Bluno merch all over the place in 2 months. Just watch me. They're gonna be dropping that so hard.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, what about the they didn't do much with the Sunny transformation either.
Literally glorified mascot. It didn't do anything at all except say Sunny the whole movie.
But
and I was like, what was the point?
I thought that like the implication was that like, so everything that heard Uta's music got sucked in. So I guess that kind of confirms that like the Sunny has some sort of soul.
Right.
So
I mean, so did the Mary, right? That's just
yeah.
ships in One Piece, yeah.
Well, none of the other ships got, like, Law's submarine didn't get taken in or whatever.
True. Doesn't mean it doesn't have one. I think it's, you know, if you have a lot of love or something. I don't know where he was going with that, to be honest, but yeah, definitely was like the Sunny's soul, like personified, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And I kind of think that, yeah, just on that topic of cameos, though, like Katakuri was just kind of like 2 scenes maybe, you know?
Yeah, he showed up, was like, I'm gonna go there, and he's like, I'm here now, and
yeah, that was kind of a pointless cameo because he literally was like, oh, I can do this with my observation hockey, and then Yasab was like, oh yeah, we kind of already got that covered, guys, thank you though.
Yeah.
And I mean, his brother Oven got way more screen time, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I'm just
Random, yeah.
And I mean, just kind of on the topic of like, I think we were talking about this off call, but in regard to like let's just say Law didn't really do like that great of a performance, which is fine because he gets so much love already, in the series. But it would have been cool to like have Kid in this, and Kid's crew, because like Kid didn't get not nearly as much love in the manga and the anime,
Yeah. And it's also kind of weird that like Law and Beppo were here, but not the rest of the crew. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Law just said he was Beppo's chaperone, I guess. So I don't know. I guess the rest of the crew didn't want to come.
How dare they?
Yeah, and I don't know, like just more on the Big Mom Pirates, like maybe putting Smoothie in there would have been like more apropos because like again Smoothie hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
So it's like here's a Smoothie actually doing something. But I think it's more on like characters you like, and then those are the characters we'll put in. That's kind of more the dynamic I think with a lot of the movies.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I just wanted to hold on, I'm going through my list of stuff here. So this movie was so close to being canon. It almost hurts. If Big Mom wasn't there, if Luffy wasn't called the Fifth Emperor, and I mean if Kobe wasn't there, it would have been canon.
Right. Is Uta a canon character?
So
Or no?
So I looked up an interview after the fact, and Uta and all of Uta's past with Luffy is canon, but the movie itself isn't canon. It's like a Shiki situation.
So is it canon that she got left on that island by Shanks?
I don't know that in particular. Possibly, because she doesn't show up again, but
yeah.
But
I mean, on that point though, like I was just kind of weird with Shanks, just like, yeah, just say that her dad like committed genocide. It's all good, then she could become a singer,
Yeah, I think he was kind of forcing his beliefs on what she should do onto her, because she was always like, I want to be the musician for your ship. And he was like, no, if you want to stay here, you can stay here. And she was like, no, I don't want to stay here. And then when it came down to it, he just kind of forced his like opinion on her, I feel.
It's like psychologically damaging to a girl with an OP power to be like, yeah, your dad, your idol, is like a piece of shit who just committed genocide. Have a good life. See ya. It's like, okay, what do you think that's gonna do to her morally and psychologically growing up? Like my hero's a monster. And betrayed me.
I mean, on the other side, I can see how it's kind of protecting her from like putting all the blame on herself for what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you could see like, well, how did that work out? Ultimately, like she almost destroyed the world, And I'm not saying like we don't necessarily have to accept the red hair pirates are good parents, I think you can make a lot of critiques like no one's really perfect in the show. Everybody has their shortcomings, and I think the red hair pirates in particular, they just kind of will sacrifice their family for when it comes to the greater stability of the world and everything,
The deadbeat pirates.
They are the deadbeat pirates, indeed. Right? Like they just stuck out to me a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So do we want to, since we're on the topic of Shanks, do we want to talk about the lore that they revealed with this?
Yeah, do you want to lead that?
So, we potentially get like two really important things revealed about Shanks. One, that they were talking about like oh, if this is Shanks' daughter, then she would be part of the Figureland family.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just kind of name dropped. So I guess that's Shanks' last name.
Yeah, I was confused if that was the movie thing or if that was a canon thing.
I think it's going to be canon because, later on we see that Shanks has a memory of being a baby on Gold Roger's crew.
Right.
Which we kind of, or the community kind of thought that would be the case because it lined up with God Valley and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't know whether or not the Figureland family is going to be like a celestial noble family or what. What do you guys think?
I could totally see that. I mean, that would make sense to why he can just kind of stroll up to Mary Jo and talk to the 5 elders whenever he wants.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There was either that theory or it's somehow that's like somehow related to Zebek. Like Zebek's wife's last name was Figureland or something. He's like the son of Zebek.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it would make sense why Sengoku's like, oh yeah, this guy's asking, then let's end the war. In a way, right? Yeah, I don't think I'd be particularly surprised by that too. And I think it would also go more to the effect where Shanks, if he has to feed in both of those worlds, why he's more of like an order keeper rather than wanting to destroy it,
Yeah.
He's not like a Doflamingo, if you will. A celestial dragon that just wants to kill the celestial dragons, which is kind of a funny dynamic when you think about that. But, yeah, no. I kind of feel like this movie was more like, it was like, hey, we're going to characterize the red-haired pirates here a little bit because we won't get as much characterization as we would like in the manga, maybe. I don't know. I got that vibe.
Yeah, I think you were saying that you say that because they're gonna die. Like, do you really think they're gonna die in the actual manga?
He thinks they're going to be off-screened.
No, they will not be off-screened. I promise. There's no way.
What scared me the most is when Yasop and Usopp had this moment. I was like, this is a really cool moment. Are we not gonna get a moment like this in the manga? That was kind of my first thought. No.
I think they will. But I was. It kind of threw into like the question of like. I think a majority of the community was like, "Oh, Shanks could possibly be evil." But do you think this movie like discredits that or credits that theory more? That he's going to be evil, or in opposition of Luffy. Let's put it that way.
It definitely discredits it. I mean, he was saving civilians and didn't want anyone else to die during that final fight and stuff. So I don't see any way he could be a bad person. Maybe like, no way.
I think he's a good person, but the way he lives out being a good person means he's not going to be the most pure OG pirate, as you will. He's actually not as like cool of a pirate because he's such a good person. Where he has to kind of sacrifice his integrity as a pirate sometimes to fight for the good. That's kind of how I see it. And, like, being of a celestial dragon lineage just means, like, yeah, you're not really, essentially a pirate. There's something kind of crooked about you, Yeah, so I don't know. I think we'll see. I mean, obviously on that point, I mean, obviously the only reason why he threw Law in here is because Law's probably already dead in the manga, which is why we didn't see him the last chapter. You know, so I think
much slander coming from you.
Law's God. Law's God.
You just want a bloodbath, don't you?
He wants everybody to just get off screen.
Yeah.
He forgot who was writing this manga.
This isn't Attack on Titan or anything like that.
Hey, a lot of people died in this movie though.
Yeah.
True.
Speaking of deaths or people that died in the movie, we didn't really talk about her. What did you guys think of Uta as like a character?
I thought she was. Some of her character motivations didn't make sense to me, like how she hated pirates. Even though she saw, they didn't need to add that part where she found the transponder snail and saw that Shanks actually saved everybody, and it wasn't his fault that everybody in Lucia died. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't understand why she still hated him after that. Well, I guess because she still left him.
Yeah.
But still, that didn't make sense. I mean, I liked her as like I'm gonna help everybody through my music, which doesn't make a lot of sense because you're still poor and this and that, but I get where she was going with it.
Well, I mean, she dragged everyone into a world that she could literally do anything in, so.
Yeah, I mean, but she was going to kill everybody and instantly take away their pain and suffering. That was her way of doing it. So I liked her crazy side a bit too when it comes to that.
Yeah, she literally did the Infinite Tsukiyomi better than Naruto.
Right. I kind of think like it's interesting when you get into the selfishness of some anime characters where Luffy's like selfish, but his selfishness helps people overall, you know? And they kind of, this might be controversial, but kind of like the selfishness of Gon in Hunter x Hunter kind of reminds me of the selfishness of Uta sometimes, you know? Where they just kind of care more about their personal well-being a little bit, you know? And they're really willing to kind of like mess up a lot of stuff to keep themselves personally satisfied, you know? And that was kind of the vibe I got from Uta a lot, you know? I did like kind of the portrayal they got of her just kind of going nuts and crazy with the music numbers and stuff. I thought that was really good. Mm-hmm. And she's still kind of like a kid, you know? She's like, I don't want stuff to change. I don't want to grow up. I don't want to lose the good things in my life, you know? And she said, like, you know, the soul's more important than the body. And it's just interesting. We're starting to see more and more spiritual themes starting to get manifested in One Piece as the series goes on more and more. And just like with the Sunny and all that stuff turning into a little avatar also. So that was an interesting development right there, too. But no, she was good. You know, I liked her. I actually thought she was a pretty well brought out character.
Yeah. I really liked her. I could see where she was coming from as like a character perspective, because she's still basically like a little kid because she's had no other contact with anyone. Just Gordon on the island raising her. And I'm proud of myself because partway through the movie I was like, I wonder if this is why like Luffy's relationship with Uta is why he wanted a musician on his crew first. Mm. And like I was looking up stuff and Oda basically said that like Uta's the reason that he wanted the musician on the crew first.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
I like that.
Cool. I was like, oh, I actually figured something out for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Except he's never mentioned her.
Yeah.
Well, that's just Luffy.
Yeah. Well, there's literally a line in the movie where like, oh yeah, she could use that power to put everyone to sleep. I forgot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And speaking of forget, and I don't blame Oda for forgetting these characters, but the revolutionaries, it's kind of interesting how Oda didn't bring them into the story at all for this when the world was about to end.
What are the revolutionaries? What are you talking
Sabo,
about? What are you talking
Sabo
about?
Dragon?
They're not important characters.
Luffy's brother, you know. It's like...
No, Ace is dead.
You know what? Maybe the revolutionary should be like not winning, and like the Navy should just keep power because like at least they were trying to save the world. The revolutionaries probably got lost on the way there on their boats or something, and they couldn't make it. Like I mean, how pathetic! Like you guys can't show up, and the world's literally about to end. You have Cypher Pole and the Navy doing more good, the same people, than the revolutionaries.
No, we had Sabo in the last movie. We're fine. Plus, he's supposed
Lucci
to
did
be...
more to save the world in this movie than Sabo.
Lucci was with the Five Elders the whole movie.
He was giving commands.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I did talk about Jimemperor with this, well, first we were kind of laughing, like, when Fuji first gets there with Momonga, kind of like the good Marines.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we can't kill Uta, because it might kill some people who are already stuck in there. I was thinking, we were kind of like, well, what if, like, Akainu showed up first, or Green Bull? I don't think Uta would have been given a cost. It's like, it would have been a barbecued Uta.
Yeah.
Right quick, like, Akainu's just like, nah, you're gone.
Yeah.
Like, GG.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so like part of it's plot armor, but also we kind of noticed that like Blackbeard and Akainu haven't been utilized at all in any of the movies, and I think Oda's clearly been doing that on purpose. I mean, like even Akainu, like just with the whole Blackbeard versus the Law thing, and Akainu's like, I hate beef, Fleet Admiral, because I can't go there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that theme's even brought up there too. So it is interesting how even in the movies, Oda's holding back Blackbeard and Akainu a lot.
Yeah, but
I just feel he doesn't want to reveal powers in movies before he does it in the manga. And I think the fact that we even saw Shanks do like anything is a pretty clear indicator that we're going to see him do something in the manga soon, hopefully. Because I didn't expect him to fight at all going into this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought he was just going to be just a glorified cameo?
I thought he was going to pull a Paramount War and pull up and say, all right, guys, we're done.
Oh.
I thought that's all he was going to do.
Interesting. Maybe because I saw trailers that I knew he was going to do something in the movie. Or maybe it was just going to be in flashbacks, but...
Yeah, I just didn't think we get to see him, like, fight.
Yeah. Speaking of that really quick, I want to be the one to debunk the Admiral slander, because Kizaru and Fujitora were ready to throw down with Shanks. Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, there's too many innocent people around. So they were ready to fight him, even though Green Bull wasn't.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. I think I was kind of going back and forth with like kind of like the plot armor, like because we see Kizaru in the past kind of like, I don't know. Well, Kizaru's not as ruthless, I'd say, as Green Bull or Akainu. He's like unclear justice.
Yeah.
So maybe sometimes he does actually want to save people,
Mm-hmm.
But he's also been very ruthless too at the same time. Like he doesn't care if you're like knocked out already. Like he'll come after you.
Yeah.
Like when Beckman had the pistol on him, and then he like next panel in the manga just like evades him and tries to kill Luffy while he's KO'd and everything. But he didn't really do that here, and there was also like innocent civilians around too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I thought that was interesting. What I also found interesting is that Kobe is just as strong as Zoro. That was really fascinating to see too.
Right.
Because they attack together.
Yeah. Not even Sanji and Zoro.
Yeah. It's just Kobe.
Yeah.
Zoro used Sanji as a launching pad, so.
Yeah. Because Sanji has the most utility in the crew for multiple purposes. But it's like, I don't know. What I did kind of find interesting is that Oda's still not showing Kobe's named attacks or anything, even in this movie. So, but I think because we're going to probably see that shortly in the manga, if I had to guess. He was just kind of using standard kicks and stuff.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much, like, they focused on him.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be a prominent character in this next arc, and I think Oda kind of had that in the back of his head,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah,
it was good to see.
Yeah. What'd you think of the final battle? Any thoughts or anything? Or
I hate the ending mech fights, and Jimper pointed this out to me the other day with like Gold and Stampede.
It was better animated than Stampede, which was a dumpster fire. You couldn't tell what was going on.
Every One Piece movie ends in them fighting a giant CGI monster. Doesn't matter how cool the main villain is, they will somehow find a way to turn really big, and then it's just like a team battle versus the big monster every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even though the first half of Stampede was like way more sick with all the supernova attacking Douglas Bullet in his, human form.
Yeah.
Like that was way cooler, way better dynamics and stuff. And it's like, why can't you? I look, I get it here because Uta, you wouldn't really be able to fight her in human form. It just really wouldn't look as cool, and I get that.
Yeah.
But just stop using the mech fights in the other movies. It's not as needed as it is here,
Yeah. I thought Top Musico was a very Oda design.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was menacing, but it was still goofy at the same time.
Definitely. I thought Top Musica was, as a concept, very confusing. I kind of gave up on understanding it halfway through.
I was confused up until the part where, like when they first showed that their bodies were asleep in the real world. I was like, okay, what is happening? But then, once they explained it, I got it.
Yeah, I just don't know how Uta awoke it by singing.
I mean, I guess that's just how it's activated.
I guess, yeah. It's
I
not
don't know.
explained very well, I think.
I'm kind of glad that the series doesn't have to deal with, like, this being non-canon, doesn't have to deal with the ramifications of, like, a Demon King spirit.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, it was cool to see Gear 5th and everything.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to barely show it, like when Luffy and Shanks were attacking and they just kind of showed like his face, but then after the dust cleared and he was just there and just showed it in its entirety, I was like, oh my god.
I mean, there wasn't like a full like front view of it or anything. I mean, there kind of was, but it was like stylized when they were attacking and everything. Like,
I think he's referencing the white hair, like
oh yeah,
when you saw the back of him. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a big like thing like I'm going Gear 5th now or whatever.
Yeah, that would have been such a dick move.
Yeah, like how they did, like Zoro did the King of Hell stuff. He coded his blades, and Sanji did Ifrit Jambe.
True.
Like, they didn't point it out, but if you knew, you knew.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'd say overall though, I thought it was a good addition, I think, to the One Piece verse, to be honest. And obviously there's some things like when you're kind of flooding in all this cameo stuff, you can be like, okay, just kind of dumping it all in there, and then it's a lot harder to manage, like Wano, but like overall though, I think Oda accomplished what he wanted to do, and there were a lot of highs for me in this movie, from Luno plushie to Kobe hype, and the Red Hair Pirates portrayal, like, there was a lot that really, I was like, wow, really enjoyed this, not disappointed. It was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. What would you guys say your ratings are? Out of 10.
Are we grading it on like actual movie or One Piece movie scale?
Let's go One Piece movie scale.
Well, I already said it's my favorite One Piece movie, but there were definitely some stuff that could have been improved.
Totally.
Yeah. So I would probably say like 9 for me.
I think I said 8.5.
Yeah. I'm going to probably be the lower one at like 8. I just think There was some characters I preferred that were in there, and some characters that shouldn't have really been in there that were just kind of a drag on the show. You know, it kind of felt a little cheap to me on some parts. But you know, good for Shanks, Red Hair Pirates, Luffy themselves, Uta, like good characterization, and it was really solid on a lot of that stuff. You know, so it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, I think this kind of got me excited more and more for the end of the series because we're feeling like we're getting there pretty quickly. You know, just to see this much of the red hair pirates displayed, you know, and you're just like, wow, we're getting to the end pretty quickly, you know?
Yeah. I think I asked Akainu Fanboy before we started recording, but do you think that there's going to be another movie before the end of the series?
I can see one more, yeah.
Probably just one, if I had to guess.
Do you think
it's like what, one movie every 3 years ish?
Yeah, Stampede was 2019.
Yeah, so one more movie, I think.
Yeah, and I think
Maybe
Oda
like-
only really has time for one more too.
Yeah, and maybe that one will finally have Blackbeard and Akainu in it.
I think that it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be either God Valley or like going into the backstory of like Zebek or something.
Yeah. I think kind of, either it being about Blackbeard, Akainu, and Jimemperor said. I think kind of one of the reasons why they haven't been in the movies is because they're both portrayed as like the anti-Luffy in certain ways, you know? And when it comes to those two, their willpower and their ambition are so strong, it's kind of hard to keep them in a movie with such strong plot armor, you know? Keep them back and everything, where it would just kind of look really bad on their characters, you know, to place them as a side character because they're so foundational to the story. So
Right.
That's why I kind of think we'll see that maybe potentially more in the final movie and everything, because it's not a coincidence that Oda's like, out of all these movies, he hasn't included them, you know?
Yeah.
It's really because he thinks like it would make them look worse. It would take away some of the mystery from them.
Same with Kaido and Big Mom. Have not been in any movies.
Big Mom was in this one for like a
Well,
second.
she was there, but she didn't do anything.
Hey, Lucci did more than her in this movie. Let's be real.
Yeah. Both just kind of sat in a chair and said, "I'm here."
Yeah.
But anyways, so I thought it was a good review. But leave a like and subscribe, everyone. We'd appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Jimemperor, for spawning onto the map right now and just
Thanks for having me.
your great insight. And we will talk to you all later. See ya.
Peace.